Ready to roll, Paterson?
Yeah. When you're a child, you learn there are 3 dimensions: height, width, and depth, like a shoebox. Then later you hear there's a 4th dimension: time.
Your poetry is really good, and someday you might let the world read it. Look me in the eye. You are a great poet.
Hey, yo, that's an English bulldog, right? Dog like that, get dog jacked, my G.
Well, it gives me something to look forward to then, I guess.
Ooh.
You drive the bus, right? Your name really Paterson?
My real name is Paterson.
Well, that's kind of crazy, right?
Good morning. Hello. Welcome to What the Flick. I'm Christy. That is Alonzo. That is Bibbs. We're going to talk about the latest from Jim Jarmusch. It is Paterson. It is set in Paterson, and his name is Paterson. Take it away, Alonzo.
Adam Driver is Paterson, and Adam Driver is a bus driver, and it's that kind of movie. There's a lot of interconnected things and ideas and places and poems, and you would think that a movie about a bus driver who writes poetry would not be cinematic, but you would be wrong. Take a look.
I go through trillions of molecules that move aside to make way for me, while on both sides, trillions more stay where they are.
This is Paterson, bus 23. I have a situation.
Damn thing could have exploded into a fireball.
I could be realizing my dream. I could be a country singer.
Nashville? Here I come.
Look out, Nashville.
Do you think there are any other anarchists in Paterson?
You mean besides us? Not likely.
Without love, what reason is there for anything?
He's not going to do anything crazy.
Everything he does is crazy.
Nobody move!
A bus driver in Paterson. Uh-huh. Uh-huh, what? This is very poetic.
I needed this movie this year.
Oh, yeah?
This comes out at the end of a really difficult year for a lot of people. It's been kind of brutal. And this movie is a cup of tea with honey in it, isn't it? Isn't this movie just really relaxing? And you just get inside the mind of a very quiet, artistic human being who has very sweet, gentle thoughts. And you just sort of stay there for a while and think this is great.
It is kind of a Zen film,
Yeah.
and I think writing is something that is really hard to capture to make cinematic, you know, without like clackety clack 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 on a typewriter or some bullshit. But this really kind of gets you into the mind of how people observe things and how they put them into words. And I loved the relationship that he has with his wife. Like, that's a character that you think is going to be this sort of like flaky dilettante or something, but she's actually talented and good at things, and her ideas are interesting.
And she supports him and everything. Like, she's not like, you see a lot of characters in movies like Lion or whatever who have like a girlfriend who's just sort of there to be the girlfriend. She's got her own life. She's really great.
Yeah,
he supports her too.
Yeah.
True.
Right? She's not like a naggy shrew, but he also truly, genuinely thinks her cupcakes are great, and her paintings are great, and the stuff she does to all her clothing is great. You know.
It's funny. I was in a group of people recently. We were talking about this movie, and the men all liked it, and the women were all kind of. And one of them tried to raise the idea that, like, you know, like the idea that the cupcakes were somehow sexist, like that was her art. I'm like, cupcakes are really hard, and her cupcakes all looked alike. Like, you know how hard that is to do? That is fucking art.
The icing is intricate.
Yes.
And exact.
And that's just the icing on the cake.
Boom.
So it's a very Jim Jarmusch film in that it's so fluid and it looks so effortless and it's so clearly meticulously crafted.
Right.
And little things that don't seem to make sense in the moment, upon repetition, gain a certain momentum and a certain rhythm and a sort of knowing sweetness. Like, it's a really knowingly sweet movie, but not in a way that's ever cheeky or obnoxious. Like, stuff repeats itself, like there are twins and the black and white color motif and a certain turn of phrase involving the bus.
Right.
And I will not give away, but there are things that keep happening, and it contributes to this, as you say, Zen kind of sense of universality, like connectedness, that is really hard to pull off without seeming cheesy.
It could be super cutesy, and it's similar to ideas that they try to pull off in that terrible, terrible Collateral Beauty, and even to an extent a show that we were talking about for a while, Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. This notion that everything is interconnected and there's coincidences and randomness and synchronicity and all that stuff. But yeah, it never feels forced. It never feels adorably, like too full of itself. It just sort of plays out in a very kind of Jarmushy, sort of low-key way, and it's really charming.
We're so used to talking about movies in terms of plot. In terms of here's what happens. Yes. Here's this exciting thing. You're gonna love this.
And then the
whatever.
Act 2 pivot.
Yeah, like oh my god, like what a twist, like whatever. And Paterson is not about incident. Paterson is about experience. And in our daily lives, we acknowledge how fascinating that is on a relatively constant basis. We just have an interesting life. We sit around, we drink coffee, we overhear someone's conversation, and life is interesting enough for a while. But in a movie, we expect big events and explosions and sex. Paterson captures that experience so wonderfully that but the thing is, it's kind of hard to sell to people.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem with the movie. It's so quiet that it's difficult to tell people, you got to see Paterson. Why? Well, there's a bit with a dog. Like there's like one plot point in the whole movie if you really look at it. Like it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, there's no villain.
No.
There's no climax. There's no big conflict.
There's no inciting incident.
And even things that you think might build to something. Like there's a cool running bit where you see him wake up with his wife or his girlfriend? Is his girlfriend?
I don't know if they're ever entirely clear.
Anyway, but they wake up every day and it's like Monday or it's Tuesday and you see him reach over and look at his watch. And every day he's a couple minutes later waking up, right? It's like 6:05, that's like 6:08, and until eventually it's like 6:25 on Friday. And you think, oh my God, is he gonna be late to get to the bus? And nothing bad ever happens. It's just like he woke up a couple minutes later today and life goes on.
But it's interesting because I was going to point out the thing about the waking up every day, because usually in a movie that would mean, oh, he's living this life of quiet desperation and the drudgery of the routine and the blah. No, he wakes up every day at the same time and he goes to work and he's perfectly happy doing that.
He likes that. That's nice.
It gives him a sense of stability, and it's like there's a cyclical nature, and we all live our lives that way to some extent or another. I mean, like my week is certainly broken up with like being here 2 days a week and that kind of thing, and so there's nothing wrong with that, and the movie actually kind of celebrates it as like, not everything in life has to, you're right, constantly be exploding. Like you can just have the simple mundane pleasures and they can be rich.
You can have a routine and enjoy your routine. A lot of people do. It's actually quite lovely, but it's really hard to dramatize, and Jim Jarmusch does a spectacular job.
Yep. All right, well, what's your number then? We all liked it. What's your number?
I'm giving it a 9.
I also gave it a 9. It was one of my runners-up for my top 10 list this year.
In keeping up with how there are things that repeat themselves in Paterson, I will also give it a 9.
Yay!
Also, we should mention, you wanted to mention the poet whose poetry they used.
Oh, Ron Padgett did the poetry that Paterson actually writes over the course of the film, and it's great poetry. It's another thing that's really hard to do in a movie is have an artist who's supposed to be talented, and then you present their art. Like, something like Finding Forrester, where you finally hear what Forrester, or what the kid wrote, and it's all like, people nodding in agreement while music plays, so you don't have to hear whether or not it was any good. Well, it's really good poetry.
That's why I love, there's a Canadian movie from the 80s called I've Heard the Mermaids Singing, and there's a character who does these paintings everybody goes crazy about, and you never see the paintings. They're just light with frames around them. I think it's where Tarantino stole the briefcase thing for Pulp Fiction. But anyway, just so that way you can look at it, and whatever it is, like, okay, well, it's great, and we can all sort of agree that we have to decide for ourselves what's in that frame. And so, you actually have to hear the poems in this movie, and they are quite lovely.
But the thing with the poems is the poems are like the movie itself in that they seem to be kind of mundane and about nothing, and then they sneak up on you, and they're really good. Also, want to mention the dog. Nellie the dog plays Marvin the dog, and they do a lot of cutesy cutaways to the dog, but damn, Marvin's
it's a great
cute.
Dog.
Marvin's very expressive.
Year's best dog? Was there a better dog this year?
Also, we should mention that Adam Driver was our best actor winner at LA Film Critics, so we broke from the Casey Affleck trend. We think for ourselves in Los Angeles, so we're excited to give him that award. So
I didn't vote.
Right. But you might have voted for Adam Driver. So
let me in.
So 9 is our number. 9 is our number.
Tomato meter?
94.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah,
well done.
so if Jim Jarmusch is your cup of tea with honey in it.
And even if he's not, because I don't always love him.
This is a good starting point. This is actually a really good starting point
even if you haven't liked his movies before, this one might be the one that will maybe win you over.
Enjoy.